It is currently one of the most beautiful August evenings that I have ever experienced in Pennsylvania. Some of that may just be because the weather is perfect and the sky is perfectly clear, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I am currently sitting in the middle of my amazing, amazing pasture. I am surrounded by the sounds of life, the change of seasons, and I cannot really wrap my head around the fact that a couple of months ago all of this was just a dream, and now I'm here. It's reality, and I am feeling extra thankful that I can call this place and this land mine. It was another really productive week for us. Taking down the wall, of course, was monumental and fun. And now that we're on the other side of that, we are left with a huge to-do list of things that are a bit smaller in nature and not as glamorous and not as fun and exciting and thrilling. And that's okay. It's all a part of the process. Removing all of the old flooring has obviously been a priority from the start. Getting the old carpets and the old linoleum out were some of the very first things that we did as far as the renovation goes, and we showed you that earlier on. But what we were left with underneath was a thin layer of Luan on about 50% of our subfloors. And while that Luan was in great shape and it did give us a very level and flat surface to work with, it wasn't everywhere. So what we did, especially with some of the unexpected things that are coming along and eating into our overall budget, instead of adding Luan where it was missing and spending that extra cost on purchasing more subflooring, we decided that the more cost-effective thing to do was to remove the existing Luan. So that was quite a process to scrape all of that up. Not only did we have to get under the flooring and remove as much of those boards as we could, but then it didn't break nicely along a lot of the walls, so we had to go back with a tool to actually cut those off and make nice clean edges along the walls to get ready for the new flooring, which we are hoping to install in a couple of weeks. There actually was a layer of drywall above the walls that we took out, so we didn't have to add more drywall, but there of course was a pretty obvious seam from where those walls met the ceiling, so we had to do a good bit of scraping to get that out of there. And then to make that seam and joint less obvious, we had a lot of mudding and sanding to do. And I don't know about you guys, I'm sure in any of your DIY experiences you have established projects that you do like and those that you don't. And while I would say that I am a decent mudder, I am at least average, I guess I would say, I do not enjoy doing it. Dad and I did all of the mudding at the renovation the last time around, and the dream team is back at it here again. I cannot say that I missed this job because it is one of my least favorite and most messy, but here we go. Number one, it's stressful because it is one of those things that you need to do well. You can't just kind of say good enough or the finish is not going to be great. And it is so messy. It is so messy. Not only is the mudding part messy because I end up with that all over my face or all over my clothing, but then when you have to go back between layers and sand, that stuff is just ridiculous. The dust gets everywhere. I am not at all sure how the concept of a pole sander has completely escaped my brain because it has not been that long since we remodeled our last house, and I was pretty much the sole mudder and sander there. That was my job and one of my responsibilities, and so you would think that I would remember that there are tools to make it easier on yourself, but no, I broke my neck in the dining room for probably a good 2 or 3 hours total between 2 days before Jonathan walked by and casually said to me, "Hey, don't we have a pole sander? Wouldn't that be easier?" And I was like, okay, seriously, you're gonna tell me at this point that we have a pole sander? Thanks, love.
Whitney's been working very hard to sand the whole ceiling where she did patchwork, but she's using like the smallest sanding implement.
After 2 days, he reminded me that we have a pole sander, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm an idiot.
We might not be moving in until next year.
So yeah, I'm gonna go find a pole sander so that I can stop breaking my neck.
It's coming along though.
We're gonna pretend like you did not see me working for 2 days on the ceiling with a block that was approximately 3 inches by 3 inches. I know that I'm giving Jonathan a hard time, but in all seriousness, I wanted to take this opportunity to give a shout out to my amazing family. For starters, I just want to say how extremely proud I am of Jonathan and the way that he has just handled the past couple of months with ease. Not only is he always the wind in my sails when I have these big ideas, but he just kind of goes with the flow and stays pretty even-keeled despite my tendency to have a good bit of variation in my mood from day to day. Jonathan has always been a really hard worker and is the type to go above and beyond what is required of him at work. But about a year ago, he took a role in management, and that has meant a lot of changes for him in his workplace. He has a lot more responsibility now, and more is demanded of him. And even though I would say that he is putting in many more hours than what he was in his prior role, I also have seen a lot of growth in him. And I do think that he is doing a good job of finding a way to balance his work life, his home life, and all of the things that we have going on here with the new property.
Currently our thermostat is still down here on the floor, poked through where the wall used to be, next to Arlo. Probably thinks it needs to be colder, but it's already set to 74, so I think that's fine. But I take you guys down here. This is what we've got going. So it comes through following these water lines, and then we're gonna poke it up right up through here. Should be about the spot. So here we go.
With Jonathan working from home most of the time, there are times where I'll be walking through the room or working on something else in the room and kind of overhear a little bit of his day-to-day happenings. And a couple of weeks back, he was doing a mid-year review, and I swear I was not eavesdropping. He still maintains privacy and all of those things if anybody from his workplace is listening. But I did overhear just a little bit of that communication between him and one of his employees. And as his wife, it made me feel extra proud because the tone of that employee was one of appreciation and positivity and gratitude for the way that he conducts himself as a manager and for the way that he values opinions and is kind of just a steadfast presence. So those are things that I have always seen in him and appreciated in him, and it's cool to see that his coworkers, especially those that he now supervises, see that as well. And then I just wanted to give a huge shout out to our kids, to Clark and Annie, because we have thrown a lot of huge challenges, a lot of huge changes at them in their short lives, whether it was taking a road trip for 10 weeks out of a year or tearing our prior house down to the studs and the subfloor so that we could renovate while they were small and in preschool, or whether it is our current adventure, starting a YouTube channel, pulling them out of public school and trying homeschooling, moving away from the neighborhood and the friends that they were accustomed to, and moving them out in the middle of the country to a place that we are very much looking forward to turning into a homestead and a farm. We're trying on a lot of different hats here, and we're going to be learning together, and that's a lot of weight for their little hearts and minds and shoulders to carry. So I I just wanted to publicly profess how sincerely resilient and amazing and helpful they are. It is not uncommon for our kids to be here during the days or the evenings, scraping floors, pulling staples, volunteering for jobs that aren't really that fun. They have also been living in a basement for over 2 months now. We're all in each other's space. We're all on top of each other, and truly, they really haven't lifted or raised any complaints about it. They have just gone with the flow from day one and are making the best of the situation. It hasn't been one that they're struggling through or just kind of dragging their feet through. Truly, it's been one that we're all thriving in. They're being bounced back and forth constantly from my sister's house to here. I'm not going to pretend like there are never moans or groans when we say that, but ultimately they've been doing it and they've been doing it well. So my awesome husband and my amazing kids and I are gonna keep on plugging along. We have plenty of things to do around here, and even though we are still mostly in the tear down, demolition, take apart, throw things away part of our project, do see light at the end of the tunnel, and I am hoping that we will sooner than later be able to transition to the point where we are putting things back together. So we're getting there. We're gonna keep on plugging, and we're gonna take it one day at a time. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of the Follow the Whisper family. If you have not already subscribed, I would ask you to please consider subscribing so that you can receive updates when our new videos come out, so that you can follow along on our renovation project, and so that you can be a part of watching our homestead and our farm come to life. We are thankful for each and every one of you. We hope that you are finding joy and peace and beauty wherever you are and whatever is going on in your life. And we will see you next week.